We're spending the offseason here on Texas Football Today, getting some of the biggest names from across the state. And here joining us today, we're joined by the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams. We're joined by Coach Seth Hobbs. Coach, how are you?
I'm awesome. Yourself?
I'm doing excellent. How are things in beautiful Mineral Wells, Texas?
Man, the sun is shining. The birds are singing. The Rams are throwing some weight around. We're doing all right.
Fantastic. You're taking over, promoted from defensive coordinator to replace Coach Gerald Perry. I'm interested when you got the word that you were going to be getting the big chair. What was your reaction there?
I mean, number one, excited that I didn't have to move. To be honest, everybody in this business has had a U-Haul truck a couple of times parked at their house, and so being here, will be my 8th year here. That was the number one biggest part, was just pumped that we didn't have to move. The big chair part of it, honestly, the only difference is, and I've been an athletic director before, but the only difference is this stinking thing rings all the time. That's really, other than that, football's football, off season's off season. That's really the only big deal. But yeah, stoked, man.
Now, in my defense, only half of those phone calls are mine.
Okay. Right. No, there's
other.
No, you don't have anything to do with junior high basketball or anything like that. So
yeah, I guess that's probably true. From your perspective, you're taking over a program that has been good recently, but maybe has fallen on a couple of hard times. I'm interested. You're a guy who's been around Coach Perry's program there at Mineral Wells. How do you balance what you guys already have established versus putting your own stamp on the program?
So that's always the question, right? Like whether you're promoted or whether you're coming in from from the outside to a new place. And there's every coach does good things, right? And even if you're coming into a job where they were terrible before and you're new and all your staff is new, there's a 99% chance that a bunch of the stuff that coach did was really good stuff, right? They probably lifted weights, they probably ran track, they probably did all those things that help you be successful. And so yeah, sure, that's the balance, is trying to figure out what parts that I do that I believe in that wasn't a part of what we did because I wasn't in charge. But for the most part, a lot of that stuff won't change because a lot of what we did is the same stuff that I do believe in. Am I exactly the same offensively minded as Coach Perry was? No. But other than that, I mean, it's very similar.
Talking with Coach Seth Hobbs of Mineral Wells here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TFToday. Coach, this is not your first head coaching job. You were head coach there at Rio Vista for a year back in 2010. That is in the before times, we should say.
Sure.
I'm curious, what do you think you gained from that year there at Rio Vista that you're going to bring with you to this job?
The number one thing is how to deal with people, right? And whether it be parents, school boards, or whatever. I was 29 years old at the time, and 29-year-old me is very different than 41-year-old me, right? And so just the idea that it's my way or the highway, it's still intact, but it's how you communicate that, right? So that's the biggest thing, is just dealing with people, dealing with parents, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world. In some ways, that was my best year as a coach, and we won 3 football games. But at the same time, I learned just as much, if not more, that year than any other year. And I've got a state championship ring. So
you guys were at you guys went 2-7 last year there at Mineral Wells. I'm interested, from your perspective, how you assess what you guys were able to accomplish, what last year really was. Obviously, a whole lot else besides football going on in 2020. How do you assess your 2020 season there with the Rams?
So in some ways we underachieved. In some ways we were a victim of the COVID crazy. And then in some ways we overachieved. We're still extremely young. Our starting offensive line last year was 4 sophomores and a junior. The year before, it was the same kids, 4 freshmen and a sophomore. And so you can imagine, it's not too hard to add up why we didn't win a whole lot of football games in the last 2 years when you got that kind of stuff going on. And it wasn't like those guys were the best players. It was those guys were the guys that were there, right? Now, what does that mean for the future? Well, it means really good things because those kids have played a lot and they got a lot of experience. What we got to figure out is if we can have an experience of something besides getting our butt kicked. That's what the experience that we have right now. But yeah, overall, I mean, to be able to win our last district game and get in the playoffs, despite the fact that we got our butt handed to us after that, that was a big deal for our kids. And winning that football game, winning in overtime the way we did, that was a huge, vaulting point for us. And I think it's gonna lead to some really good things, in the future.
I know one guy you guys are really excited about is Tristan Gray, kind of a do-it-all athlete. You're the all-district utility player of the year last year. He makes his impact all over the field. I can watch the film and I can do those things and tell you, hey, he's a pretty good player. But you're the guy who sees him in the weight room, sees him in the hallways, sees him every day at practice. What is it about Tristan Gray that sets him apart?
He number one, he does everything. Number two, he's not scared of anybody. Number three, he's a great student and a great kid. And number four, his dedication is unmatched. Like, he's the guy who is here literally every single day in the summer. Last week we had a baseball game here, and I guess it was the day that we were getting out for spring break. But we had a track meet that day. Well, he went to Gainesville, 2 hours away, won 4 gold medals at the track meet, and was at the baseball game at 5 o'clock that evening, and was, I think, pitched before too long in that game. So I mean, he's just a kid that isn't scared to do anything and has a great attitude about it when he's doing it. And when he gets the ball, he's dangerous, man. Is a really great, exceptional kick returner, in my opinion. Has really good pop, catches the football really well, and really has a nose for the ball in the secondary as well. It'll be one of those things where, for forever I was the guy always fighting to get those guys on defense, and now it'll be interesting to see, whether I can tell him, hey man, he's going to have to carry the rock. Might not need to have him out there every play on defense. So.
You are you are being promoted from defensive coordinator. You're a defensive guy. Last year, let's say the defense inconsistent. There were times where you guys looked really good, and other times where it just didn't work for you guys. What's the key to make that next step? What needs to happen for you guys to become the Mineral Wells defense I know you guys want to be?
Well, very simply getting those guys who were young another year underneath them. I mean, that's the key. The inconsistency is a direct result of kids thinking instead of doing, right? And so and really that's football in general, right? If they're thinking about what to do instead of just playing and reacting, then they're going to be a step slow. And so sometimes when you play guys that you're even with, you end up not being as successful as you could have been because you're a step slow. And so that's the key. It's staying simple, both offensively and defensively, but staying simple, keeping our scheme to where our kids can understand it and execute it, and not be thinking about it. Because if they're thinking about it, then they're going to get beat.
One last question for Seth Hobbs, the head coach of Mineral Wells here on Texas Football Today. Coach, when you go home, you're surrounded. It's all girls at home besides you, whether it's your wife Joey or your daughters Hudson and Hunter. And I guess my question now is, at work now you have the big boss job. You're the boys athletic director. You're the head football coach. You're the boss. Has anything like that as far as the structure of power changed at home, or is
no.
that okay?
No, sir. No, my wife is more than likely the one that wears the pants in the family, but I also have a 8th grade daughter, and so if anybody has ever dealt with those particular brand of humans, they are different, and there's definitely times when she is in charge, and then my 6-year-old may be the toughest out of all of them. So the hierarchy has not changed one bit. I'm still in last place.
I figured, but you got to ask. I'm a journalist. That's what I do.
I get the big piece of chicken. That's about the end of it.
All right. Listen, a nice consolation prize.
Sure.
He's the new head coach of the Mineral Wells Rams. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the new gig, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the fall.
Thanks a lot, man. Go Rams.